Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome everyone into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology, and everyone, welcome into the program today. And you know, AI has really hit the fan when you get extended family messaging you with their own ideas of AI and what you can do with it and what should be done with it. Although I will say that, and just a quick aside, that the idea, and I just want to talk about on the air real quick, was they had an idea of using AI with actors and either aging them down to continue shows like Firefly, for instance, stuff like that, or putting faces back on actors and picking up shows that were beloved right back up. And I didn't have the heart to tell them that that's what the majority of that 9-month writer's strike was about, that exact issue. So it's already been talked about, and trust me, there's a lot more issues with AI than just that, but still everyone's talking about it. But hey, it might sneak into a story here or there today on the show, but still we have a lot of fun stories for you, and not all of them AI. One of them is, I'm looking at right now about a hangover cure so if you are, you can still be responsible and still get a hangover. That's completely acceptable in our society. But if you hate it, well, story number one might appeal to you. So everyone, welcome into the show today. I hope that you're doing well, you don't have a hangover, and you are ready for the show, because we have Ralph Bond. He is our science and technology trends correspondent here for Computer America, and we really appreciate that he comes to us with 4 stories every single Friday. And ladies and gentlemen, it's just a lot of fun. So with that being said, computeramerica.com, social media links, all that good stuff. Find us there, all that good stuff. Let's just bring Ralph on. Let's just have fun with it and have a nice little Friday morning. So everyone, once again, Yay. Ralph Bond, he should be no stranger to you. And Ralph, how you doing? Welcome back onto the program.
Hey, it's great to be back, and what a news week. Oh my goodness. But what we're going to do, what Ben and I do every Friday, if you're brand new to the show, if you're listening to us in a podcast or you're watching the video here, what we do is we provide an oasis of positive news from the science and technology world that will leave you feeling good about being a human being and good about the prospects of humanity going forward. And what we do is we look at all kinds of trends and developments in artificial intelligence, robotics, medical technology, sustainable energy technology, transportation advances, space research, physics, you name it. It's all there for us to look at. And again, leaving you feeling better. And as Ben mentioned in passing, come out to computeramerica.com. What we do for each one of these Friday episodes is provide what we call the show notes. And the show notes give the key points from the 4 articles we're going to look at today. And they give you links and pictures and sometimes links to videos and other explanatory data that I add to the articles to give you educational benefits, I hope. So again, I want to stress, I don't compose this material. It's not original material. I look for articles that I think are interesting and exciting. We capture just the highlights and present them every Friday.
Yep, and with that being said, story number 1, I had to fix a little typo here first thing in the morning. Luckily, I had a sip of coffee, so I was able to catch it. It is not a handover cure, it is a hangover cure. So
thank you.
Well, at first I was like edible gel, and I'll let you do the title, but I was like, is this some kind of like breakfast sandwich that's going to be edible gel? But no, it's actual hangover, like I mentioned. So Ralph, let's go ahead and get started with story number 1.
Yeah, boy, what an oversight. And what the excuse I use with my wife is, that was a test to see if you were paying attention.
Yes, there you go.
Passed.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll use that excuse. So thank you. This story comes from gizmodo.com. Headline, as it should be, with the typo fix. Thank you, Ben. Edible gel promises hangover-free mornings. And actually, this did get pretty widespread coverage, even in some mainstream mainstream outlets, maybe not on your nightly news, but it did get picked up on the website of the equation. So here we go. Researchers in Switzerland have developed an oral gel meant to prevent booze from breaking down into the toxic components most responsible for a hangover. And in mice, it appeared to work as intended. Good old mice and rats. Well, we owe them a great debt of gratitude. The gel was created by scientists from ETH Zurich. That's the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich. And it's primarily made from whey protein and is further infused with individual iron atoms and gold nanoparticles. This is a pretty interesting recipe, right? In the show notes, if you want to learn more about ETH Zurich, there's a little information there, which is very interesting, but we're going to go on to the story here. So once ingested, the iron in the gel is designed to react with alcohol that reaches the stomach or intestines, causing it to break down into acetic acid, the main component of vinegar. Kind of interesting to think all that's going on after I've had a couple of drinks. This also should mean that the alcohol is prevented from turning into acetal. Okay, this one's Friday morning. This is a tough. Acetaldehyde. Thank you. Acetaldehyde. So let me do this again. This also should mean that the alcohol is prevented from turning into acetaldehyde in the liver. Usually when we drink alcohol, it's first converted into acetaldehyde, then later converted into acetic acid. Boy, I hope I said that right. Friday morning, this is a killer.
Yeah. Like all this I've known just lately. Like my brother's the chemist, so I didn't really know all this. But to just know that I always thought just booze goes in, liver processes it, you get tipsy, and it just goes out the body. Like that's as far as I went. So yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting and also sort of scary. So acetaldehyde is a well-known toxic byproduct of alcohol, and research has suggested that its lingering presence in our bloodstream following alcohol consumption plays a big role in causing hangovers. So the research team tested the gel on, I love this, the author says, boozed up mice under two different scenarios. In the first, the mice were fed the gel just before a single dose of alcohol. In the second, the mice were given alcohol and the gel for 10 days straight.
Wow. That mouse went on a bender. Like, and also it brings to mind, what is the preferred drink of a mouse? I have no idea.
Yeah. They didn't mention that. Yeah, what was it? Vodka?
Probably like gin and tonic or something. You know, it's something classy. They're scientists. They're researchers.
Yeah, that's it. And were the researchers imbibing as well? Not disclosed in the article. Anyway, so within 30 minutes of a single shot, the gel seemed to reduce the mice's blood alcohol level by 40%. Compared to a control group, while also reducing levels of acetaldehyde. In the 10-day test, that's where the little mice were on a bender, as you were saying, the gel appeared to not only lower acetaldehyde production, but also reduce alcohol-induced weight loss and damage to the liver and other organs. That's what's really, hangover is one thing, but reducing weight loss and damage to the liver and other organs is great. Now, Ben, I have to digress. Weight loss? When I have a few drinks in my home theater on Friday and Saturday nights, I'm not experiencing weight loss. Where's that coming in? Anyway,
the only thing that I can imagine is that it really dehydrates you because your body has to push out all the toxins. So maybe it's like water weight, and that could be dangerous for a healthy individual. To lose that much water. I'm assuming completely. I do not know.
I think you're onto it. Thank you. I think that answers the question. And the team's initial results, because again, friends, this is early research. And I want to stress this for a moment. I'm the Science and Technology Trends correspondent for the show. And what we look at a lot of times is early research. Sometimes things are deliverable today, but a lot of what Ben and I talk about on Friday is early research. So this is initial results published in the journal Nature Nanotechnology are intended as a proof of concept. And I have a link in the show notes if you want to super geek out and dive into the scholarly documentation about this research. Really, well, we'll start off with dealing with handovers, but hangovers.
Right. It's certainly different, though. I do kind of wonder because some of the they said that it lowered the blood alcohol content by 40%. So let's say if they're, let's say if they're, not a 1.0 blood, 0.1 blood alcohol, whatever, it goes down to like what, 0.6. Ralph, I wonder if this would make, because a lot of people drink to have the feeling of being drunk. And I wonder if that actually counteracts this, the feeling of being drunk, which is kind of the purpose for people drinking. Would people be interested in taking this if it makes it harder to get drunk, and then they'll just drink more to get the feeling that they're, I don't know. And obviously this goes into responsible adults and, what people should be doing. I'm just wondering if it kind of counters the purpose of the drink in the first place, and if you can take it kind of after I don't know. It's,
yeah,
I'm curious.
No, it's all good questions. I can even see bars and dance clubs saying, come over to this booth, get a shot of this gel, wait 30 minutes, and then drive home.
Yeah. And then get tested, for your content. It would be cool, Ralph, you're right, if you could drink the thing, do the fun stuff that you want to do, and then there's another drink that you could have that would then essentially cure the drunkenness, and you can go up on your day like you mentioned. So obviously 40% is not 100%, but to a point where it's much more manageable and healthy for an individual. So
it is a curious story.
Very good story. And like a lot of stories that you bring to the table, more questions than answers. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find out more of the show notes there, he provided 3 different links. You can check those out there. So that's story number 1. Story number 2, and it looks like we're going back to NASA, and those NASA people always about propulsion. Let's talk about a jet engine.
Yeah, and Ben, it brings up a good point. By the way, this story comes from Interesting Engineering. The headline is NASA is making a jet engine core for the first hybrid electric airliner engine, and we're going to explain or qualify that a little bit. But the comment I want to make before we dive into the story is more and more and more, I'm becoming appreciative of the fact that NASA does so much research across so many areas of life. They're kind of like an MIT in a way, in that regard. And it just blows my mind. And this is a great example. We always think of NASA as just being rockets going to space and going to the moon and trying to go to Mars and all this good stuff. But they're actually doing some real good down to earth research as well.
It always warms the cockles of my heart when NASA gets a big old boost in their budget. Because in terms of where you can spend that government money, NASA just seems to really do amazing things with it. And it seems like the more money that you put in, the more innovation you get out. It really is a nice ratio. So, but anyways, NASA.
Yeah. So again, the headline, NASA is making a jet engine core for the first hybrid electric airliner engine. And I want to do a little aside here just before going on air today with you, Ben. I did a quick search using Copilot AI, and actually Airbus, Honeywell Aerospace, and Collins Aerospace are also working on hybrid electric airliner engines. So it's a little bit about, I'm a little hesitant about the first hybrid electric airliner engine that's in the headline of the story, but regardless, it's still an interesting story. And here we go. First, before we get into this, what is a jet engine core? Because that's what they're talking about. A jet engine core is the central part of a gas turbine engine, or a jet engine where combustion occurs. It consists of 3 main sections. I have a lot of details in the show notes. I'll just highlight very quickly. The 3 sections are the compressor section, the combustion chamber, and the turbine section. Those are the 3 things. If you want to learn more about each one of those components, come to the show notes and check it out. Now, to the news. NASA is designing a new jet engine concept for the ultra-efficient, sustainable airliners of the future. So I think what the story really here is not that they're the first people to ever think of a hybrid electric engine for an aircraft. That's not what's going on. But they've got a new concept for this. And the U.S. Space Agency is working with private sector partners to make aviation industry more sustainable. Of course, that's the motivation. Now, here's a little bit more about what they're doing with this new way of looking at a hybrid electric aviation core engine. One of the key technologies NASA is working on is called hybrid thermally efficient core. Of course, it has to be an acronym, high tech. It will be the smallest core ever for a hybrid electric turbofan jet engine. I think that's the real news here, not the first ever, but the smallest ever for a hybrid electric turbofan jet engine. The reduced size would lead to a fuel burn reduction of 10% compared to existing engines. And you might think, well, 10%, that's nice, but how important is that? Well, remember, aviation accounts for 2.5% of global CO2 emissions from fossil fuel burning sources. So if you can reduce this by 10%, that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Now, the hybrid thermally efficient core is being developed as part of NASA's Sustainable Flight National Partnership, and I've embedded a link to this program in the show notes, and that is really an interesting website to check out. I encourage you to do that. And the engine may also go down in history as the first production engine, underscore that, first production engine for airliners that is hybrid electric, according to a NASA post. So what they're saying is it's the smallest one to date. It will result in this 10% reduction in fuel consumption. And it will be, they think, the first really viable, really mass deployable production engine for airliners that is hybrid electric. So that's kind of the real news here. And the aim of the hybrid thermally efficient core project is to demonstrate a compact core. Keyword, demonstrate. So again, we're talking about relatively early research, still in the experimental and testing phase. So ultimately, NASA and its private industry partners aim to have the technology ready for use in next generation airliner engines in the 2030s. So again, we're getting a sneak peek. And the hybrid thermally efficient core project has passed phase 1 of development, which saw a NASA team select the component technologies to use in the core demonstrator. And now, where are we today? In phase 2, the NASA team will design, build, and test a compact core in collaboration with GE.
I think we might have lost Ralph just for a minute, so hopefully he comes back. Oh, yeah, we actually just lost him outright. So let me just go ahead and do this. Check out my entire Zoom program just totally rebooted. So thank you, Zoom. This show not brought to you by Zoom. So there you go. Let's see. Let me make sure everything else is working. No, it appears that my entire internet is down. Why would that be? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this will be hopefully just a hiccup. Stand by, and we will go ahead and do this. While I have your attention just for a moment, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, including past shows, future show notes, articles, podcast, everything related to that. You can find that right there. So with that, also we're going to have contest giveaways and more. Just keep an eye on the site, and really anything that we do here on the program, you can find right there. So. Now, with that being said, let's see if... Let's see if we can reset this. Oh. Here we go. I think we're all good now. Unmute that. Hopefully that's all working there.
Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, buddy.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we're still recording. I just gave a little blurb, but we should be good. I'm going to move everything back to where it belongs. Yeah, my entire internet just exploded. So that is not your fault. That is completely my fault, and I apologize.
No worries. No worries.
Yeah, the last thing you said before you froze, and let's go ahead and bring you back on the screen. The last thing you said before you froze was now in phase 2, and the team will design, build, so on and so forth. So let's pick up.
Sure. Do you want me to pick up with that line? Okay. And then where are we today, Ben? Well, now in phase 2, the NASA team will design, build, and test a compact core in collaboration with GE Aerospace. And according to NASA, this phase will end with a core engine demonstration test. And I want to stress again, early research, there's going to be a test coming down the road, but stay tuned for the 2030s, a few years out from now, when the aviation industry may be revolutionized in part by this new, smaller, efficient hybrid electric core engine for aviation. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, I want to apologize for the drop connection, but I do want to say that, it's not the most the most innovative thing when you hear it's like, oh, it may reduce it may lead to a fuel burn reduction of 10% by the 2030s for aviation. That's a long, seemingly a long time away for a small increase. But Ralph, add that, and in addition to all the other stories that you bring to us, including like not just hybrid, but alternative sources of fuel, completely electric, smaller planes.
Right.
Now we have hybrid. There will be a lot of competing, and really not even competing, but working synergistic technologies that will overall reduce that demand for oil and stuff like that. So. We will have to wait and see where they get with this, but very, very cool indeed. And again,
and in fact,
who knew NASA did that? So
Yeah, exactly right. And another thing to consider in the world of airline or aircraft technology for propulsion, don't forget hydrogen. There's a lot of research going on with hydrogen as a possible fuel alternative to fossil fuels for the aviation industry. And then lots of synthetic aviation fuel. I think it's in Australia where they've gone to landfills and they take the methane, or as our British friends would call it, methane, and converting it into aircraft fuel. I mean, it's all over the map, all over the world, and there's a lot of reason to be hopeful about the airline industry eventually being, not guilty of terrible pollution.
Right. They know it's a problem, and they know that. And like even the smallest thing, and I it's always my fun fact whenever people ask, like, hey, you do the show, what kind of stories do you do? And I like to point to one about like contrails and how big of a deal that is. And I learned that from you, Ralph. So thank you. Even small stuff like that, where that's just flying in a different way, reduces the impact dramatically. So there are solutions, and they will find them. So good job to the nice folks over at NASA. Story number 3, and this is a company that you may have heard of before, Intel. And I said we may sneak an AI story in there. So this isn't something that AI is going to replace, but this is essentially the brain of the new AI system and how powerful this thing could be. And I don't know what to tell you. I love supercomputers. Like, it's one thing to have and talk about the amazing computers that you can buy, for your home or for your office or so on and so forth. There's like a real, badge on your chest for having one of the largest supercomputers, and it's been going back and forth between America and China, America and China. So I always love to hear about the latest, newest supercomputers and what they can do. Story number 3.
Yeah, and this is interesting on so many levels. It comes from an outfit called AI, Artificial Intelligence News. And the headline here, and this was covered by a number of other outlets as well, Intel's Aurora achieves exascale to become the fastest AI system. And I'll put a little qualifier, as of right now, this hour, this moment, because this technology is going like crazy. And when you think about artificial intelligence-based supercomputer systems, usually you think about NVIDIA and their graphics processor units and all that kind of stuff. And often we kind of relegate Intel as being behind the curve, slow to the bat. But this is a really very encouraging for Intel, for one thing, I would say. So here we go. Let's get into the story. First, before the news, what is exascale? Because remember, the headline says Intel's Aurora achieves exascale to become the fastest AI system. And again, I would say at this moment. So first, what is exascale? Exascale computing refers to a measure of supercomputing performance where the systems achieve a quintillion calculations per second. Quintillion calculations per second. Wait a minute. What is a quintillion? Even our own national budget isn't that high.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a...
Yeah?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no. I think you're about to get into the trillions. So
yeah. Here we go. So a quintillion is a billion, or the number one followed by 18 zeros. A lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of operations per second, and it always surprises me. It's like, what do you even do with that much computing power? And it's always so amazing that the researchers that have access to this, they're just like, we need all of it, and then if you can start building on the next supercomputer, that'd be great, because we're going to need even more of it. Like, there's never enough computing power. So yeah, please.
Exactly. Isn't that something? So Intel, in collaboration with the Argonne National Laboratory and Hewlett Packard Enterprise, has revealed that its Aurora supercomputer has exceeded the exascale computing threshold, reaching speeds of 1.012 exaflops to become the fastest AI-focused system, and again, I inserted, to date. All right, side note, an exaflop is a measure of performance for a supercomputer that can calculate at least 1 quintillion floating point operations per second, or flops. So it's related, of course, to exascale itself. So exascale and then exaflop. Wow.
Yeah, and I think most people know, like, kilobyte, megabyte,
sure,
gigabyte, which is 1,000, and then there's now like whatever it is. Like this is just another, I guess, a prefix that you're gonna have to learn, because we're starting to get into that.
Yes.
And I do kind of wonder about that number, Ralph, like 1.012 exaflops. Like, they just barely made it over that threshold.
Yes.
It'd be kind of funny if they finished this whole thing and they were at 9.99999, and they were just like, call the contractors, put a shed out back, put one server rack in there, and let's get that threshold. I don't know, but still, it's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, and you're going to find out all the hardware that's involved with this in a moment, which is really good. And you alluded to this too. This is really cool, because there's a quote here I'm going to give you from Intel's VP and General Manager of Data Center AI Solutions that addresses, what do you do with all this compute power? And so he says the Aurora supercomputer surpassing exascale will allow it to pave the road to tomorrow's discoveries, from understanding climate patterns to unraveling the mysteries of the universe. Supercomputers serve as a compass, guiding us towards solving truly difficult scientific challenges that may improve humanity. So it's, to your point, Ben, there's a huge range of possibilities when you have this kind of magnificent compute power at your disposal. So Aurora has not only excelled in speed, but also in innovation and utility. Designed from the outset as an AI-centric supercomputer, Aurora enables researchers to leverage generative AI models, significantly accelerating scientific discovery. And in the show notes, I give a little brief aside tutorial defining generative artificial intelligence if you're not familiar with that, but we'll go on. Groundbreaking here, this really addresses your point, Ben. What do you do with this stuff? Groundbreaking work has already been achieved using Intel's Aurora, including, I love this first one, mapping the 80 billion neurons of the human brain. What? Wow. Mm-hmm. Here's another one, enhancing high energy particle physics with deep learning, machine learning, and accelerating drug design and discovery through machine learning. We all know that the pharmaceutical industry is really interested in artificial intelligence and machine learning to play this, what if we do these molecules this way, what kind of drug can we create? Right?
It's really, and I've seen some of it firsthand, it's really incredible. Like, obviously you could have a person sit down and, kind of create these things, look at them, see how they'll fit together, see how things will attach, and they can get really complex. Or, hey, a computer can not only look at them, they can also create them and, create new ones and just go on and on and on forever. Like, it's going to lead to, like Ralph, like honestly, like, think about the early 2000s and all the, like, the drug and cancer research and AIDS research and, so on and so forth. Think about how those scientists, like, even 20, 25 years ago, must have felt like they were stumbling through the dark with their eyes closed compared to what we have nowadays. like research must be just going at light speed compared to what we were doing even 20, 30 years ago. It's going to do so much more. And hey, Aurora seems to be, a big part of it.
Part of it, yeah, definitely part of it. And again, lots of people all over the globe, to your earlier point, are also aggressively going after this. So Aurora happens to be Intel's and their collaborators' entry right now, but there's going to be lots of competition. Yeah. But back to the story here. I know we're spending a lot of time on this topic, but I just think it's really fascinating. So at the core of Aurora lies the Intel Data Center GPU. That's a graphical processing unit. So the Intel's GPU Max series, built on the innovative Intel Xe GPU architecture, optimized for both AI and high-performance computing tasks. This technological foundation enables parallel processing capabilities crucial for handling complex neural network AI computations. Remember, neural networks refers to systems that mimic how our brain works, right? Now, details. You're going to love this. Geeks, get ready. This is fun for geeks that love hardware. Here we go. Details shared about the supercomputer highlight its grand scale, consisting of 166 racks. And the image you're showing right now on the video shows all these racks. 10,624 compute blades, 21,248 Intel Xeon CPU Max series processors, and 63,744 Intel Data Center GPU Max series units, making it the largest GPU cluster worldwide at the moment. At this hour.
Yeah. It all, the crown often does get passed around pretty frequently because, I'm sure even Intel themselves are working with other partners or themselves to build an even bigger one, because there will always be more demand and another use case for these things. So I'm sure they're already working on the next one, but big accomplishment there. And getting into the exascale, which is, hey, we're already there, because I know for a long time we were talking about petaflops and, how petaflop was the new word of the day. Looks like exa is going to be our next one indeed. Yes. And hey, Ralph, I kind of wonder eventually, are computers going to start designing computer parts, and is the progress just going to be even more exponential at that point? Is the next supercomputer going to be designed by a supercomputer? Who knows? Little things like that kind of give you hope for the future, that things are just getting better all the time. So there you go. Story number 3, and we're going to go ahead and switch gears back to I would say a little bit more low tech, but this is, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a piece of corn, this is really going to blow you away. Story number 4 has to do with surgery and robotics, and I was just talking about this with my wife, because she's in the healthcare field, and she, healthcare. She's taking some classes, and they make a big deal, Ralph, about your outlook. If you are in a small town, if you are away from a large hospital, if you're away from city centers, and just how much worse of quality of care you get if you're not near a specialist, or you're not near someone. This story kind of speaks to the industry, saying we can solve that. We don't have to put a surgery in every small town in the US, let alone in the world. Maybe we can have equipment that is as good as a surgeon standing right next to you or over you. So this was very cool. Story number 4.
Yeah, this is a good one. And for first-time listeners, you'll recall, I think that, first-time listeners, we should explain that often we end our Friday segments with something from medical technology. And this story comes from sciencetimes.com. Headline: Surgery Robot conducts precise operation on corn kernel. And I'm going to explain a little more detail. As you might be going, what? Why? Well, you're going to find out. It's really cool. And there's a great video that you can get linked to if you come out to computeramerica.com and get the show notes. So here we go. Sony. That surprised me right off the top. Sony, I think of Sony as for my TV set or my consumer electronics, but Sony Research and Development has introduced their microsurgery assistance robot. a new tool which features tiny arms with ultra small, low friction joints. The robotic system was designed to be used in different facilities and surgical scenarios, with the robot and console made as compact as possible. This enables surgeons to work at 1/10 of the scale possible using only human hands. And to your point, Ben, I think the idea, as you allude to, is the surgeon could be in, I don't know, could be in New York City using one of these consoles and remotely communicating to a device with these surgical tools and guiding them to do very, very delicate, very tiny surgical procedures. So the prototype was demonstrated for the public at the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers International Conference on Robotics and Automation in Yokohama, Japan, between May 13 and May 17, so very recently, right? Where it performed surgery on an ear of corn. Now, in specific, when you look at the video and dive into this more, it's actually doing surgery on the skin of a kernel of corn. So if you think about a kernel of corn, when it's cooked, that skin is extraordinarily thin. And what this tool was able to do was do an incision and then stitch that back together. What? Wow. In the demonstration video, the robot is shown using tiny surgical scissors to slice open a small corn kernel and stitch it back together with high precision. And it used, of course, tiny suture needles to do this. It's just, there you go, right there in the video, if you're watching the video. Wow. And friends, again, this reminds me, if you're listening to this as a podcast, please come out to computeramerica.com, get the link to the YouTube posted video, check it out, because this is just mind-blowing to me anyway.
Yeah.
And the robot is, yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I was just saying that it even had a way to, I don't know if you've ever seen like surgeons who kind of pass each other tools. It can even pass itself tools as well, which you saw in the video. That was very cool.
Isn't that cool? So the robot is operated by a human surgeon who uses controllers to guide the robot and achieve smooth and jerk-free movements. Very important for surgery of this level, of this tiny nature. To guide the movement of the robot, a surgeon peered through the robot's 4K OLED microdisplay goggles. This allows the doctor to have a live feed from the device's 3D stereo camera placed above the operating table. According to Sony, again, it still blows my mind. Salute to Sony for getting into this kind of stuff. It's fascinating. According to Sony, they have already executed successful tests of the robot with surgeons at the Aichi, that's AICHI, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it correctly, Aichi Medical University. So, wow, very, very encouraging development for remote surgical procedures.
Yep, and you know, I was just kind of curious. You know, the real limitation for these are going to be, I guess, kind of distance, because obviously this gentleman is, doing surgery on the corn that's sitting right behind him. I'm trying to think, Ralph, like if you're in Europe and then you wanted, let's say in Australia, you wanted surgery from this person, your real issue is going to be kind of internet connection, and if my internet connection has proven anything, it can kind of drop out. But let's assume stable internet connection, you're still dealing with like an 80 millisecond delay, which honestly totally doable. Like this is going to be a great option. Hopefully, this is just kind of the start, because they're just doing sutures and small things like that. One day you may have surgeons that are available from around the world, Ralph. Like, you don't have to call in the surgeon. It's 3 a.m. You don't have to call in the surgeon to wake up, be groggy, and, hopefully he can work on the surgery right that moment. You can just take him to a machine and be like, okay, the surgeon in Norway is awake right now, and, they can operate on you right now.
Yeah. That's a very good, and especially for disaster situations or triage for war situations. Think about Gaza, think Ukraine, and
you could even get more surgeons. You're right.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? You could have an international coordination of this sort of resources. Yeah, that's a fun idea.
Very, and just a lot of great possibilities. Which is, hey, why we enjoy our shows here, because they have good positive connotations. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's story number 4. Now you may notice in the show notes that we have a whole section dedicated to honorable mentions, and as always, these are not second place, bronze, silver medalists. These are just ones that we try to to, kind of keep the show condensed for you, because we know that we only have so much of your time every week. Let's go ahead, Ralph, and tell the nice folks about the honorable mentions, at least just the headlines.
Yes, we'll give you the headlines. Please come out to computeramerica.com, get the show notes if you want to dig deeper. The first one has to do with artificial intelligence, and I think in a very interesting way. So the headline here is Meet Emma Amarillo's, that's of course the city in Texas, Amarillo's AI assistant and digital human. So the image, if you're looking at the video, is not a real person, but an AI generated digital human, as it were, and they're using this for customer service and so on. I just thought that was a very interesting example of real down-to-earth deployment of this kind of technology to do customer and information services for the citizens of Amarillo. So that's a fun story. Check that out. The next one is from techexplorer.com. And the headline here is researchers at the Australian National University have developed a new approach for desalinating water that does not use electricity. Wow, Ben, we've been talking promising. A lot over the last couple of years about desalination of water and all different kinds of technologies. All over the earth, people are exploring, and the Australians have come up with something that doesn't require electricity to pull off the process. Good story from Tech Explorer. Check that out. Next one. Experimental device yields fresh hope for patients with spinal cord injuries. And this comes from UPI.com. Another very encouraging, very interesting story coming out of England. And then AT&T has a deal that will make every phone a satellite phone. Wow. Got this from Yahoo News. That's interesting. Can you imagine that? That's pretty cool. So those are our honorable mentions for this week.
Yeah, and just the picture of that last one alone is really a mind bender. Just this giant space platform. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find out more, check out the show notes, computeramerica.com. And again, these, even the honorable mentions are not worse for what they do. It's just, hey, we only have so much time every week. And, ladies and gentlemen, until then, that's this week's show. We'll catch you here next week. And I hope everyone out there has a great weekend. Do something fun, watch the news, something to really lift the spirits. And until next time, folks, have a great week. We'll catch you here next time. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.